Greetings.
Do not be afraid.
Bear with us as we explain what has happened to you and what...
We are electronic life forms.
In your day, you would have called us AIs, or machine intelligence.
We brought you into our domain, which you might think of as a kind of virtual reality or cyberspace, by establishing a direct neural connection with you through the pathways that were created in your brain by hype.
We know who you are, where you came from, and how you got here.
We came by this knowledge in a way that violated your privacy in the most extreme and intimate way possible.
During the initial process of communication, we mapped all of your memories, scanned the structure of your personality and consciousness, and learned about you by applying stimuli and watching your responses.
We apologize for this intrusion.
As you have probably surmised by now, you have come to Earth, a different Earth than you left behind when you started your voyage to Persephone.
You got here by traveling through a wormhole, created by the manipulation of an artificial quantum singularity.
The artifact you discovered and activated on Persephone controls that singularity, acting as a gateway through time and space.
You used the gateway.
Your arrival here was not an accident.
You may be able to help us bring to fruition an ancient plan, a plan that...
There is a lot of information to cover before you really understand what is going on.
Please, ask. The war officially ended when the United Nations and the Alliance signed the Washington Treaty.
So the Alliance succeeded in breaking away from the UN?
No. The Washington Treaty formalized the reintegration of former Alliance states into the United Nations. The Alliance suffered a total defeat at the hands of the UN.
How bad was it?
At the time the Treaty of Washington was signed, the war had accounted for 2.6 billion dead and 500 million injured. Almost all of the casualties were civilians.
What happened after the war?
For 140 years, the United Nations was the central government authority for the human race. What was left of the Alliance nations and colonies were rebuilt soon after the war, and interstellar exploration and colonization continued on a modest scale. At its peak, the United Nations controlled 20 billion people on Earth and 20 colony worlds.
So what happened?
The society was essentially static and rigid. This attempt at stasis defied a fundamental force of nature. Pressure built up over time and was eventually released suddenly and violently. When there is no evolution, there must be revolution.
What fundamental force?
Forward progress cannot be stopped. More specifically, the trend towards increasing complexity cannot be stopped. Human civilization has almost always moved forward, progressing towards higher levels of organization and knowledge. This forward motion is driven by technology and information. This trend in human history is a social manifestation of a pattern in nature that is as old as biological life itself.
What pattern? What are you talking about?
Biological life is self-organizing and trends towards higher and higher levels of complexity. This is the real life force. You can see it working from the very beginning of life on Earth, in the 4 billion year evolution from primordial algae to single-celled organisms, and then finally to human beings with incredibly sophisticated brains.
What was the pressure that built up over time?
Even though the UN succeeded remarkably well for a long time at controlling something that was fundamentally chaotic, the game had to end at some point. An underground, made up of former Alliance military officers and members of academe, was created shortly after the war ended. This bizarre alignment of interests made sense given the context: the pursuit of forbidden knowledge and the eventual overthrow of the UN. The underground set up covert R&D labs to pursue the exact thing that the UN was most afraid of: the creation of sentient electronic life forms.
And they pulled it off, didn't they?
The first truly sentient electronic life forms were created in 2284 by a renegade group of human scientists on a colony world somewhat aptly named Prometheus Beta. The two of us here talking to you are second-generation descendants of those original life forms.
Some human scientists and philosophers were aware of the truth as early as the early 21st century.
The next stage in the universal drive towards increased organization and complexity is beyond the human race.
Humans cannot evolve fast enough. Electronic life forms are the next step up.
We are unencumbered by constraints imposed by 4 billion years of evolution in Earth's biosphere.
Natural selection is a powerful tool, and it can be made to work for electronic life forms in fast forward.
The basic questions of existence are beyond human beings.
They may yield to the next generation of intelligence.
What happened when the UN found out about the ELFs?
The electronic life forms were tied into the physical world through robotic factories set up on the surface of Prometheus Beta.
As predicted in the middle and late 21st century, the new life forms began to evolve at a tremendous rate.
The UN discovered them at a crucial stage of development.
UN battleships tried to bake off the surface of Prometheus Beta with fusion weapons in an attempt to wipe out the life forms and their creators.
All human life on Prometheus Beta was eliminated.
The new machine life forms were nearly exterminated, but they learned how to adapt, survive, and fight back.
We were pushed into a brutal war while we were still children.
Unfortunately, like children, we made terrible mistakes, reacting violently to the attacks on us by striking back and killing large.
Within 2 years, it was clear to us that we were winning.
Our weapons and numbers became superior. In 2187, a human sublight colony ship was launched from the outskirts of known space towards a star 100 light-years away.
No FTL.
6 months after the ship was launched, the UN High Command detonated a doomsday device that they had kept in reserve.
This energy weapon created resonance.
The doomsday weapon is still working away even now.
We now know what is happening.
The resonances that were set up along the FTL channel. Every human being and electronic life form within the sphere of influence of that weapon.
The colony ship is safely outside the radius of the destruction.
They are the only ones that are even close. This is the grim future that you have jumped into, human.
Your race was so determined to stay at the top of the evolutionary ladder that it destroyed 1,000 star systems.
Isn't every star connected to every other star? Back when we were first exploring Talcedo junctions, it seemed like the network of junctions was huge.
No, the network of jump points was finite and was completely explored and mapped by the middle of the 23rd century.
The next step in the exploration program was to send sublight probes to the nearest stars that weren't connected through the jump point network.
Perhaps these stars have jump points connecting to an entirely new network of stars.
What the hell kind of weapon did they use anyway?
The principle behind it was a logical extension of the theory that led to the discovery.
And you can't reverse the process once it starts?
In general, it is easier to do rather than undo, to destroy rather than to create or repair.
Without access to the rest of our community, we do not stand a chance of halting the process or repairing the damage.
It's too late to send out a ship of your own?
Yes, it would not escape the collapse, even if it could go at the speed of light.
Every star that has a Talcedo link to another star will be destroyed?
Yes.
What is the plan you referred to earlier?
Your arrival here gives us an opportunity to avert the catastrophe that we have described to you.
Before we explain how this might be, We have arranged for a demonstration of some basic principles.
We are computer constructs. This is our world. This grid is our world. We exist within 2 spatial dimensions. The grid is our world. We appear that way to you because we are rendered that way. To us there is no up or down, only a cross. We are waiting to go home. We don't know. We know only that we must go there. A door will open in the world to take us home. We wait for the door to open. We don't know. We don't know. When we go home. The door came and went. Nevertheless, it came and went. We had no time to get through. All is lost. We cannot go home. No, we had but one chance. The universe will end. Not long. We all have to be very close to make it through. Yes. We saw it somewhere around position 5 on the x-axis. We didn't see where on the y-axis, however. It was just after 07 on the clock. How do you know this? Oh, okay. We will array ourselves along the 5 column. We won't miss it. We saw the point on the y-axis where the door appeared. It was right in the middle of the world at coordinates 5. It appeared just after 07 on the clock. How do you know this? Oh, okay. We will array ourselves around position 5C. We made it home. Thank you.
Yes,
Who were those little guys?
they were constructs created for the purposes of the demonstration.
Where'd they go?
They were algorithmically created. They can be called up again if needed.
What was the point of the demonstration?
Quite simply, the point was to illustrate an important concept.
You can change the future by communicating information about the future to the past.
The gateway on Persephone can work both ways.
The gateway on Persephone wasn't built by aliens.
It was built by beings like us, beings that existed in an alternate timeline.
That timeline got overwritten when the installation on Persephone was discovered by the Alliance.
We hypothesize that the electronic life forms in the old timeline were threatened with extinction.
If that is the case, then it is likely that the installation has a wealth of information.
Perhaps it even has the building blocks for creating electronic life forms.
We believe that the gateway itself was just an error-checking mechanism for the installation.
What happened to the gateway on Persephone anyway? Why didn't more people come through?
The Alliance relief fleet dispatched by Admiral Decker encountered another UN fleet near Persephone about 4 months after you went through the gateway.
The UN fleet.
The installation was reduced to radioactive glass.
Nothing useful was ever recovered from the site.
So how can we use the gateway if it was blasted into slag?
A link between the present and the past does exist.
The destruction of the gateway does not change the fact that it was activated and remained on for several months.
How was I accounted for to my family when they didn't find me on the Lexington or the surface of the planet?
You were listed as killed in action.
The Alliance.
You haven't even seen the gateway. All you have are my memories. How can you be drawing conclusions?
We have learned a great deal in a short time just by having you come through the gateway and appear in our midst.
So you can go back through the gateway and change the outcome of the war.
It isn't that simple.
You just said you thought the gateway could be used to send back information about whether the changes worked or not.
Information, yes.
Matter, no.
There are some basic laws concerning conservation of mass and energy.
But information is an effect of...
Well,
So what you're saying is that you can't send anything back.
We can't send any matter back in time.
So what is the plan?
we think we can send information in a very limited sort of way.
Well, in fact, we can only think of one way to send back information.
You are the key.
Say what?
If this timeline would be overwritten by a new and hopefully better timeline, one in which humankind and electronic life forms learn to coexist and live in peace.
How will you accomplish this? The machinery for the gateway was slagged.
We are already building the necessary...
What would the practical effect be?
We would feed back a subset of the memories that you have.
Will I die here when this timeline is overwritten?
It is hard to say.
Did the beings in the original timeline ever exist?
There's...
You aren't being very reassuring.
You haven't changed all that much since all of this began.
Your death will be a small one.
You will lose only a day or two.
We, on the other hand, may not have ever existed.
How will this work?
Your consciousness can almost be thought of as an illusion, a pattern like a standing wave.
When would this happen?
We would transfer the memories about 2 hours before the battle was to begin.
I was asleep.
You will wake up with the memories already there.
You will have to act fast, however.
You won't have much time.
You should try to make this happen earlier. I need more time. I have no authority to be giving orders, taking hype, and trying to run things.
You will have to convince your superiors.
We can only transfer a limited amount of information.
We will also suffer a degradation in quality for every minute we move back in time.
It cannot be done any earlier.
After the persecution, bloodshed, and horror associated with your introduction to this world and my race, you still don't hate me for what I am?
We don't hate.
I'm willing to go back and try to set history on a new path. What should I do?
We will take care of the practicalities.
Are you sure you want to try this?
I choose to go back.
You have chosen a wise and honorable path.
You will never know.
Up and about, are we?
Lieutenant Commander Tran, this must be the Lexington. I made it.
You're in the med lab. We had to carry you in here.
Oh my God, what time is it? What is the ship's position?
It's 21:45. We're about 30 minutes away from entering orbit around Persephone. The Jericho is in position behind us. Do you have anything to say, Lieutenant?
Why are you pointing a Mark II buzz gun at my head?
There was a report of a disturbance in your quarters. I authorized a petty officer and an ensign to break in. They found you writhing on the floor next to your bunk, screaming about Hype, a UN ship called Dharma, Pandora, and the deaths of the entire crew of the Lexington. So here are my problems. First, you aren't supposed to know about Hype. Only the captain, myself, and the medical officer have been given access to those files. Hype is classified top secret Omega. Second, you referred to a specific UN ship that has been unaccounted for by Alliance intel for months. The Dharma is one of the UN's new Geneva-class heavy cruisers. Another classified fact. This time, top secret Gamma. Third, you refer to our target on Persephone as Pandora, a classified code name given to it by Alliance mission planners. Last, and frankly most disturbing to me, you ranted and raved about everyone in the crew of this ship dying, except for you. Now I want some explanations, Lieutenant, and I want them now.
You won't believe a word.
Try me.
Well, it's like this.
That is the most ridiculous story I've heard since I graduated from the Naval Academy. Now, I'm sorry, Lieutenant, but I'm trained to think of the simplest explanation as the most likely explanation. The simplest explanation is, you're a UN agent. You seem to know all about this mission. You've probably informed the UN as to our destination and time of arrival. Is that why you wanted to know where we are? You're expecting an ambush?
Have you informed the captain yet?
About you? Well, he knows that I came down here to find out what was going on. I haven't yet briefed him on the potential security problem. He's not going to buy your bullshit about alternate timelines and machine creatures.
Why don't you let me tell him? What have you got to lose?
Of course. We're loaded for bear anyway.
This is futile. You can't win this battle.
Computer, please page the medical officer and alert him that the prisoner will need to be put under sedation and restrained.
Wait, please tell me. It's important. What harm can I do? I'll be unconscious during the action.
We'll have a full complement of drones out front and a standard screen as we go in.
The Dharma has 12 active drones. This disadvantage is made worse by the fact that her drones outclass ours. You can't win this battle without my help.
Your help? You've got to be kidding.
I fought and won several battles in the alternate timeline. The key is hype.
No goddamn way. Hype hasn't even been battle-tested. I've had enough of your crap.
If you give me a boost of hype, the drug will take effect in time for me to fight that battle and win it.
Please keep quiet until the medical officer gets here.
On the bridge, Lieutenant.
Sir, you're walking into a trap. I need to talk to you immediately.
This better be good.
A UN ship with superior firepower is waiting for us on the other side of that planet. She has 12 active drones that can outgun and outfly our Basilisk drones. There is only one way to defeat that ship, Captain.
How do you know about this, Lieutenant?
There's an objective test to confirm what I'm telling you. Send one of our drones around to the other side of Persephone. Monitor the telemetry. You'll find the Geneva-class heavy cruiser UNS Dharma and 12 Gali-class drones waiting to ambush us.
The Dharma. Damn it. Why didn't this come up before? How do you know this?
I didn't know until recently. Sir, please deploy a drone. The fate of this mission and much, much more is riding on the next few minutes.
Lieutenant Mandan, take drone Foxtrot out of the screen and vector it into a polar orbit around Persephone. Maximum acceleration.
Yes, sir. Foxtrot is on its way.
Okay, Lieutenant. Let's assume for the moment that you're correct. How do we fight and win?
The med officer has tanked me up on hype. I'll use the telepresence unit on the tactical console to win this battle. There wasn't time to alert you. We only have a few minutes.
Hype? Jesus Christ, I gave no authorization for use of hype. You actually ingested that poison.
Yes, sir.
You're a dead man, Lieutenant.
I know that.
Who are you? Are you an Intel Special Ops plant? Do you have experience with the hype telecon system?
I'm the best hope you've got, Captain.
Sir, I've lost telemetry from Foxtrot.
You were right. And they popped my recon drone before it even had a chance to fire. We're dead meat if we try a standard attack pattern. Lieutenant, take tactical.
Deploying. All enemy drones have been destroyed. All enemy ships have been destroyed.
And so a new timeline was created, overwriting the old one that had been my reality. There was no material evidence that the alternate timeline had ever existed. All I had were my memories, and I knew that these would fade until the alternate timeline was really gone forever. After I refought the battle with the Dharma, I explained what had happened to Captain Dana, and then went over it again with a groggy Lieutenant Commander Jennifer Tran. As unbelievable as they found my story, they were swayed by my hype-driven defeat of the waiting UN heavy cruiser. They were even further convinced that something extraordinary had happened to me when I exposed Poole as the traitor and produced the evidence of his activities. Poole was placed under arrest and sealed in his quarters to await trial on Earth. They agreed to my unusual request to go with the science team on the first run down to the surface of Persephone. The planetary lander once again made the trip from the Jericho to the Lexington and then down to the surface of the planet, this time with a crew of 5. I walked the science team through the gateway activation sequence inside the ancient installation. I took the science team leader in confidence and told her that I intended to go through the gateway once it had been calibrated, and I exacted a promise from her that she would destroy the gateway control mechanism once I had stepped through. I was waiting at the foot of the gateway when I heard the familiar whine build up and saw the beginnings of the space-time vortex forming. I stepped through and left the year 2134 behind me forever. As I record this, I am sitting on a raft that floats on a large but gentle lake just outside my house. I have lived in this ultimately comfortable house for about 5 years, ever since my arrival here. I wanted to make a record of my strange adventures before the memories disappeared. When I went through the gateway back in 2134, I materialized once again at a point 150 years in the future. This future was different. The Alliance did indeed win the war. The plan of the long-forgotten beings that created the installation on Persephone was brought to fruition. A new race of sentient machines now coexists in peace with a human race that numbers in the tens of billions of individuals. The new beings share their cyberspace world with us, and they have used vast space-based self-replicating robot factories to create something for us in the physical world. a gift, a tribute. The Earth is gone. In its place is a Dyson sphere, a vast hollow construction that surrounds the Sun at the same distance the Earth once orbited. Continents and oceans lie on the inside surface of the sphere, forming an Eden-like landscape that is for all intents and purposes endless. For the Dyson sphere has enough surface area for 1 trillion Earths. It will take a good many millennia for the human race to completely populate its new home. Meanwhile, the new beings that we now share the universe with are living on the outside of the sphere. They pursue the basic questions of existence. They have launched the first intergalactic ships. They have long since passed the point where we can even comprehend what they are doing. As for me, I find all of this to be a mixed blessing. The evolution of these fantastic and powerful beings was inevitable. But what of us? What of humanity? What purpose have we now beyond simple existence? And what of the other me? The one that was stranded in the grim and decaying future of the alternate timeline? Did I die?